A good life is a life built around fulfilling work, play, relationships, and lifelong learning. Welcome to Good Life Conversations, where we explore the stories and strategies of inspiring everyday people who are striving to create a life of purpose, meaning, and connection. Hi there, welcome to this Good Life Conversation. My name is Jay. I am the host and the founder of Discover Year, and today's guest is Russell Willis. Hi, Russell.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming. As always, it's great to see you. And Russell is executive director at the University of North Georgia at the Oconee campus. Oconee campus.
Yeah, old Indian name. Yeah.
He is from the southern U.S. and he and I have known each other for, my math is terrible, but 25 years or so,
Yeah.
Which is mind-boggling. And Russell is accredited with being the first Black person that I really came to know and become friends with. And he was, which I think is important for me personally. And at that time of my life, it was important because I think Russell recognized that. So in Discovery Year, diversity in all forms is a really important part of our messaging and our environment. So I learned a lot from Russell. He was the dorm parent at a boarding school that I went to in New Hampshire, and he lived in my dorm, and we had a lot of really interesting interactions. He's a wise man and has done a lot of really interesting things in his life. So he's been meeting with our students at Discover Year for a number of years now. So it's great to have you in this format now, Russell.
Thank you. I'm honored, truly honored.
And I love the bow tie.
As always. Tied in the mornings. Thanks.
Okay, so we'd like to dive in pretty quickly, Russell, and this is Good Life Conversations. So our aim here is to talk about a number of things that contribute to leading a good life. That means different things to different people, but it historically, and in terms of research, includes meaningful work, meaningful relationships, community involvement, some degree of adventure, and ongoing learning. So those are some of the topics we want to talk about. And to help us understand a little bit about you, it's interesting for our students to learn patterns in our mentors' lives. So if you can tell us a little bit about what a typical day looks like for you. What time do you get up? Do you have any morning routines? How long do you work? What do you do at work? And then do you have any routines in the evening? What time do you go to bed? Just tell us a little bit about a typical day for you.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I have a routine that I almost have to stick to because it keeps me grounded, organized, and centered. I rise each morning at 6 o'clock, and as soon as I rise, I have my quiet time. I have my prayer time. And that gets me grounded, that gets me rooted, that gets me centered. A meditation time really kind of focused on gratitude and thankfulness. And then I rise, shine, and I'm on the road by 6:43. I'm pulling out of my garage, and I have an hour, 15-minute commute to my office. And I arrive in my office at 8 o'clock, and I go from 8 until 5:30. A couple of bad habits that I have is that I do not eat breakfast nor lunch. I do not advise this, so don't do what I say. Don't do what I do what I say. Take care of yourselves and definitely eat, nourish the body. But I tend to get into this zone and just go full steam ahead. And I leave my office at 5:30. I'm home at 6:45. And between 6:45 and 9 o'clock, I spend with my wife. We'll eat, sit, talk, watch some television, and then at 9 o'clock, I am preparing for bed. And that's kind of my routine. I have to get a certain amount of sleep each night because if I don't, I'm not worth a cuss the next morning. So unfortunately, I'm to bed early because I have to get up so early.
And what does that mean for you? If you're preparing at 9, do you usually get about 8 hours of sleep?
Yes, I want to get about 8. Yeah, 8.5. Yeah. 8 hours of sleep I would prefer to get. That's optimal for me. Um, it sometimes it takes me a while to get to sleep because my mind is spinning, it's running, it's processing the day. And so I have to have a routine that I do even before I go to bed. I was an international 4-H youth exchange student to Japan, and so I kind of took on a Japanese way of routine of ending my night. I do a hot shower at night before bed. You know, I shave everything and wake up in the morning, sleep to the last minute, the last second, because in the morning everything is ready, laid out, set to go, everything. What I'm going to wear the next day, all is ready, set to go, so I don't have to waste any time after I get up. It's very regimented. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that really comes from my mother raising 3 boys by herself. At night, our clothes were prepared, were ironed, laid out, and then so in the morning when we got up, it was a regimented routine in order to get out of the house on time, because she had to be at the sewing factory, you know, early in the morning. So it just comes from that regimented life of being raised by a mom raising 3 boys by herself.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And you've carried it on, and you find it helpful to prepare those things the night before so that you don't have to stress the next day.
No stress in the morning. It's smooth sailing. Everything is ready. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Thank you. And have you known for a long time that 8 hours, 8.5 hours, that's your appropriate window for sleep?
Yes. I've known that for a long time.
Mm.
Yes.
That's great. And do you find it difficult because, so sleep, in fact, is a conversation that we have often with our students. They're in a period of life where, for a variety of reasons, they don't get the kind of sleep that they often know they need, but are, find themselves on social media or, doing, playing video games, whatever it is with their friends until the wee hours of the morning. So they don't get enough sleep, and they know it. So we have a lot of conversations about this. And how did you come to know that? And how did you manage to stick to that?
After having my tail served to me on a platter enough times where I show up and I'm not centered, I'm not focused, or I have not had enough sleep, and just trying to get through the day without having that. After having my tail served to me on a platter enough times, that I realized that this is something that I just have to do in order to function at my best. Then I started to listen to that and do what I needed to do.
Yeah. I like that it was multiple times before you recognized. And I think that's, for most of us, that's true most of the time. And it's useful for young people to hear too, just because you can't grasp it right away, or you have a bad day and you realize that you need more sleep and you can't get there yet. You will, hopefully eventually. You just have to persist.
And there's so much research out there, Jay, about adolescents needing more sleep at that stage in their development. And the school schedule that we actually have in our countries, with students being in the classroom starting early in the morning, it's just really counterproductive to adolescent development. Research has actually shown that it's better for adolescents to start school later in the morning, simply because they need more sleep at that stage in their development.
Yes, that is a whole other conversation that we could have. Yeah, it's interesting though, for sure. And I think our students would be keen to read some of that research. Okay, so I'd love to know a little bit about, and we've chatted in the past, we've known each other a long time, so I'm a little bit more aware of some of your pastimes, but we want to talk, pastimes and hobbies, things we do outside of work for meaning and purpose and enjoyment are important. So what are some of the things that you do as hobbies?
As hobbies, I am a lover of orchids. It's a passion, a love that I developed when I was in high school, and I delivered flowers for the local florist, and we're preparing for a wedding, and they had me prepare the flowers as they arrived, and these orchids came in these box, and they were carefully, wrapped and everything. And I opened the box, and I was just like, what is this? What is that? And the shop owner said, well, this is a Cattleya orchid. This is like the grandmother of all orchids. And I just fell in love with the way it looked and how elegant, this bloom just looked, and I just fell in love. And I knew from then on, I was just like, at some point in time, I am going to try to learn more about these. And then later on in life, I discovered that some of them were relatively easy to grow. So I started growing orchids with grow lights in my home, and I just love them. I just think they're beautiful.
Hmm. And is that something that takes up some time every day to tend to the orchids, watering, or no?
Doesn't take every day, maybe once a week on a Saturday or Sunday to just water, fertilize, and make sure they have the proper humidity. It doesn't take a whole lot of time to do that. So that's one of my hobbies that I do. Another thing I do in my pastimes is you remember when you called and asked me to help with one of the Discovery Year participants who was looking for a connection with someone who was of the same melanin hue as him. I have been a mentor to that student ever since. And that has been going on for several years now. We've never met face to face, but we several times a month on Saturday afternoons, we're on Zoom, where we just we've kept that mentoring relationship going. So that's what I like to do in my time, because it keeps me connected and gives me something to do to be productive.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so cool. I love that you're still doing that with him. And you've always been drawn, obviously, I've seen that in you, that you care deeply about youth specifically, and offering them support. So thank you. The next question is, as you've heard over the years at Discovery, we like to talk about failures, and often we reframe failures and mistakes as learning opportunities. So we always like to hear of at least one important or recent failure from our mentors. Is there something that stands out to you as a failure or a mistake that you made that you learned something from?
Oh, wow. Well, one of the benefits of having a long commute each day is that I get to reflect on what worked, what did not work, what went well that day, and how many times I blew it that day. And I blow it quite a bit. But it's important to reflect on it and learn and learn from it. That's what I try to do. A recent failure, I talked about this quite a bit with people at Discovery Year. Being fired from a job and and having to start over, that was a really hard failure to have to come to terms with and piece everything back together, and the impact that it has on the psyche, very difficult, but when a door closes, a window somewhere else opens. I know it's cliche, but I'm a true witness to that. I am a true witness to that. So yeah, and another thing that kind of disturbs me is that when we look at what so many people are exposed to with social media, all we see on social media, well, not all, most of the time, social media, we everything is all polished, everything is wonderful, everything is great. Oh, look at this great success, look at this wonderful triumph. But rarely do we hear about the things that weren't so successful. This is what I'm struggling with. This happened to me today. Please give me feedback on how to recover from this failure. It's like taboo to talk about, taboo to discuss. And I'm just the opposite. I like to talk about it, process it, and figure out how to learn from it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. It's something that the social media landscape is something that we explore with our students a lot, and the pros and in my opinion, plentiful cons. So yeah, and I think it's really interesting and important for students to hear someone who's accomplished as you are. We didn't talk about this, but Russell graduated from Harvard College, so one of the most renowned universities in the world. He has a long history of teaching and being a wonderful employee and leader, and to be let go later in your career. That's important that people understand that that can happen, and that you can still rebound and find a new place that seems to be very fulfilling for you.
Exactly.
Okay. Thank you. So we'd also love to learn something that we'd like to hear about something that you've learned about relationships in your life. Is there a story or a lesson that you've learned about relationships that you want to relay?
Relationships require a lot of work. I don't think all relationships are easy. I just had lunch with a friend of mine from undergraduate, and his comment to me is still ringing in my head. He said, you know, Russell, out of all of us in our core group, he said, you know, you are the one who kept us all together. You were the one who always made sure we met. We broke bread together. We did something together. It's like, if we did not have you as the one that, you know, kept us all together, it would have been so easy for us to lose touch. And so, you know, my thing about relationships is that it has been said that friendship is the most sacred bond. Families, well, in some cultures, they believe that, you know, you've chosen your family. Some cultures believe you're born into a family, but let's just say if you did not choose your family. But friendships you have chosen. That makes it very, very, very sacred. And I've always said that, you know, we should be careful about who we allow to have a ringside seat in the story of our lives, because not everyone is worthy of that seat. So it's important to be very selective of the company that one keeps, and to surround yourself with good people. And you know good people when you are around them. And I often tell students, you will know because your parents didn't raise a fool. They've put something good up there in your head. So, you know, you use that wisdom, you use that judgment when you choose with whom to have a relationship.
Yeah, it's great advice to be mindful of how people are treating you, how they're treating others, what the relationship is bringing you. And I think in conversation with many of our students, I think oftentimes there's this gap between being aware when they might be mistreated or a person is not a good fit in their life, and the steps that they need to take to no longer have that person in their lives. So is there a time where you recognized that, hey, this person is either the person or the relationship was not positive, and you decided to say, okay, I can't see you anymore, I can't be around you anymore?
Yes, I have. I'll never forget when I was in high school, I had this person who I thought was a friend, and you know, and who I so wanted to hang out with and be around, and it took a visit to my dean of students office, a wise counsel, and he didn't have to, but he chose to point out when this happened, what, how did this make you feel? When this happened, he just kind of went back along the history of kind of the relationship. And then when he told me, he said, well, more than likely, this person is not someone who's healthy for you. And I didn't want to hear it. I didn't want to hear it at the time, but it finally sunk in, and that's when I decided to just move this person from the friend column to an acquaintance. We know each other, but we're not friends. We know each other. We are acquaintances, and there's a difference between an acquaintance and a friend.
Yeah, that's a really important distinction. I think, even in terms of our psyche and how we categorize people, even if nothing changes in the outside world, how our perspective, the shift in perspective is an important one. So yeah, thank you. It's not an easy thing to do.
No, it's not.
Okay. We've chatted a little bit about work for you, not much, but I'd love to know if there's a lesson you want to share that you've learned about work.
Oh, wow. A lesson I've learned about work. What I've learned about work is, for me, it's been important to find something that I enjoy and something that has meaning to me in order to work in that field. And I'm careful with this word passion, because passion can also lead to irrational behavior or whatever. But for lack of a better word, find what you're passionate about, what makes you tick, and following that, even if it does not make any sense to anyone else, as long as it makes sense to you. And here's the story. A long time ago, in a land far, far away, I actually worked as a flight attendant for a major airline. And I had a beautiful apartment that overlooked a babbling brook. Had friends over all the time. A beautiful place, nice car. I worked 15 days a month. I was flying Europe, and it was like I had found the promised land or what have you. But I was not happy. Even though I was seeing the world, but I was not happy. I had this drive, this passion to work with adolescents, helping them through the stages of development and learning about risk and resilience of adolescent behavior. And I gave it all up. I left my job. I took a leave from my job, and people were looking at me just like, but why would you do that? You have the best job in the world. Why? And I was just like, but I have to do what's right for me. And it made no sense to my friends, closest friends. It was like, no, you shouldn't do this. You're crazy. What are you doing? But it made sense to me. And that's what mattered. I needed to do what was right for me. And I did it. No regrets. I don't look back now. Well, I won't say some. Yeah, some regrets sometimes, because I think about now, if I stayed in that job, I would now be flying probably, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Honolulu 3 times a month with the rest of my month off. But would I be happy doing that? Probably not. But I did what made sense to me, even though it made no sense to anybody else.
Yeah. I like that you brought up this idea that it's not totally without any degree of regret. And I think that's important, because that's, as an example, in social media, that's what often gets lost, is we see in 30 seconds or in snippets, we see like, I made this choice. I'm never looking back. It's perfect. And that's never a true perspective of reality. So to say that it was the right decision for you, and at the same time, there's a part of you that dreams or imagines what could have been, but the fact that you still fundamentally understand that it would not have brought you happiness, even though it seems like it might have been nice. I think that's an important message. That's kind of a nuance that I think we don't hear a lot about, right? Young people don't hear a lot about. It seems like it's black or white, so often it's this or that, and then you move on and it's beautiful or it's terrible. So this, life is complicated. So I appreciate you pulling that string a little bit. And obviously, I know that you love a big part of the work that you do now. And I'm curious, if you don't mind, the next question would be, in your industry, post-secondary education. So you're no longer teaching directly. You're an administrator, what we largely call an administrator. And I'd love to know a little bit about what you love about your job and what you like less.
What I like about this job specifically is that I am, well, this isn't coming across the way I was hoping it would come across, but I am the face of this campus in the community. I am in Rotary Club meetings. I'm a member of the Rotary Club, Chambers of Commerce, which I'm a member of multiple chambers. I attend events to represent the campus in the community. Whether I just had a reception for the Arts Foundation here, and it's being out and about and bringing the good news of what we do here as a campus to the greater community. I enjoy that. I enjoy it. And even though it goes completely against kind of who I am as a person and my personality type, I am an introvert. If I go to a reception, I much rather stand in the wings of the kitchen and talk to the servers and the chefs and the cooks than be out there socializing with the people who come to the reception. But being able to promote who we are and what we bring to the community, and open up opportunities for those who are interested in coming to see who we are and check it out to find out whether or not it's a right place for them, because we're not right for everyone. But I like bringing that in and going out and representing who we are and what we have to offer and what we bring. I enjoy it.
I really, again, the part of the goal of these conversations is to highlight some of the complexities of life. And I love what you're saying here, because what I'm hearing is kind of on the surface, you would assume, based on your understanding of your introverted kind of a personality, you would assume that this would be maybe a terrible job for you. But there's something about the purpose behind it that helps you not only do it, but enjoy doing these things that might otherwise seem intimidating or that you wouldn't enjoy, if I'm understanding correctly.
Exactly.
And do you think it's what is it about that role that helps you kind of get over this part of your personality to relish in the job?
Because I see the lives that are changed, the students who come here and whose lives we touch. I'm able to translate the work that I do to a cause, to a purpose. And then that allows me to put aside the reaction that my body has to being front and center and whining and dining and talking to people whom I really don't know very, very, very well, and keeping that purpose this is why I do this. This is why I need this community support. Because if I don't have the community support, then how is my satellite campus going to thrive in the community? It's up to me to do that and promote it. So I'm able to not really put aside my personality. I'm able to function, and then when the event is over, then I have to go and process kind of everything. And my executive assistant, she's perfect at it. She knows me so well that, you know, when I if I have an event that I'm sponsoring here on campus, and I'm in that area, and I'm on really on in this event, and then when it's over with, you know, and I walk in, she will tell me, she was like, okay, now go to your office and close your door because you need to decompress and get yourself together.
Nice.
She just looks at me and she knows. She's like,
Yeah,
this is what you need right now. You've had your fill of crowds today. Now go and get yourself together because you have another meeting in 4 hours.
yeah. Good team member. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
I like that. I really like that. I think it's very useful, because what my experience with young people, oftentimes they will look at things from a distance. They'll read what a job description is, or they'll hear about the job industry or the company, and oftentimes my perception is that people are quick to write things off as not being of interest to them. And the truth is that what you just described is, you know, this idea that we can overcome, you know, or work with certain aspects of our personality to really enjoy something that we otherwise think we wouldn't. We never know those things until we try. So that's an important part of discovery, of course, as well as getting out and trying stuff.
He's from South Africa. He was a member of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission in South Africa after apartheid fell, and he took my wife and I around South Africa into the village, not the cities. I'm talking about the back village of South Africa, and seeing the rolling hills, and attending the festivals celebrating the birthday of King Shaka Zulu in a village way out in South Africa. Just the sound of the thunder of the dancing, and the women and their singing, and it was as traditional as I could have ever wanted for my first trip to the motherland. Yeah, the villages of South Africa.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, I've visited Cape Town myself, and it is such a beautiful place that's so rich in culture and tragedy and lessons, in my experience. So yeah, thank you. Bringing back some memories for me too. I appreciate that. Okay, I'd love to wrap up the conversation now, Russell, with some advice, and I want to present it in a way that, you know, we call these good life conversations. The goal being to, you know, talk about some of the elements that our mentors incorporate into their lives that help them lead meaningful, purposeful, joyous lives, and knowing that there are hardships for all of us at times. And in the world today, as you've already discussed, young people look into their phones, into their tablets, their computers, and see a world that seems to present as being, you know, perfect for a lot of people. Everyone has it figured out. And we know very clearly from research that those people don't have it all figured out. Right. And in all likelihood, they may not be living the good life. So what would you offer as wisdom or advice for any young person listening to this that really wants to move beyond the superficiality of social media and strive for the good life?
Well, that's a good one. It's loaded with so much that I could talk for a long time, but I won't, and I can't, and so I want advice that I guess I would have to apply it to myself, to kind of what I wish I had earlier during the age group of the Discovery Year participants. But what I try to do now to kind of help is mentoring, is get a sense-making community established. What I mean by sense-making community, a community of people, a village, creating your own village of sense-making people with whom you can pick up the phone at any given time and say, I need to talk. That sense-making community where, for example, there are times when something could happen at work that will, take away all the serenity that I have worked so hard to have. And instead of going off the handle and saying something that could get me in trouble or get me fired, I have a village on speed dial of several people, many people with whom I can call and say, okay, this happened. Who would be good in the village that I can call and say, this just happened to me. Please talk me off the ledge right now, because Russell from the housing projects is about to come out. And you don't want Russell from the projects to come out because that's when I get my mouth gets me in trouble. All right. So I'll have a sense-making community who can help me understand what just happened. Or, I was just in this meeting and so said this, and I found it to be very, very offensive. Did I hear this right? Am I wrong? And in your sense-making community, there are people who are not going to yes man you to death. There are people who are going to tell you what you need to hear instead of what you want to hear. And sometimes it can be hurtful or painful or completely against what you want to hear in that moment. But I have a friend who I call and say, and this is what I said. And she's like, no, you wrong for that. It's like, but this is why I did that. No, you are wrong for that. You shouldn't have said that. That wasn't right. That was Having that village is crucial for me. And I encourage other people to have that, create that village. There's an African proverb that it takes a village to raise a child. I was raised in a village by grandmother, aunts, and the little old ladies with white hair in the church. That was the village growing up. But in your professional career, it's important to also have that village that you can just say, this is what I'm going through, and I don't need to sugarcoat. I don't need to put on the mask, because we all wear that mask. We all wear the mask. I tell people, I said, don't be fooled. This is my work persona. Okay. There are times when I have to close the door and that other persona comes out, but then I have to pull myself together after contacting my village and then put my professional persona back on and go out the door and finish my workday professionally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Have that village.
Yeah, I love that. The idea of village, what we call that the authentic circle is the name we use for that same group of people in Discovery Year. But I think we're after the same things with saying both those things. So thanks, Russell. I heard, the importance, largely what stands out to me in our conversation here is unsurprising to me, but the importance of relationships and the work that relationships take to be meaningful. And also the idea that life is complicated, so don't expect easy answers all the time. And it's a life spent learning, and you're a great testament to that. So thank you for being here, and thank you for being you and for being part of my village.
Thank you, Jay. It's truly an honor.
Thanks to everybody for listening, and we hope to see you at the next Good Life Conversation.